Hello, hello, everyone, and welcome back to Creative Dezine. I'm Izzy, brand designer from Ottawa, Canada. And today we are doing my favorite thing in the world. I mean, the design world. We will be designing a zine. So we have been creating some images in Firefly at the last episode. And if you missed it, if you go down in the description, you can find that link and watch it whenever this stream is done. So let's get started. And the first thing that I want to say is that if you watch this stream until the end, you have the chance to win a fabulous zine. This is our newest zine from the Ottawa Design Club, which is a volunteer project that I have. Inside, there's just some beautiful artworks from people from all over the world. And you really want to get your hands on this. So if you stay to the end, we'll have the draft for that. Okay, so if you are new to this stream, and I know I'm repeating myself for this like all the time, but you might be saying like, okay, what is a zine? So the zine word is short for magazine, and it's a short circulation basically. And you can pick the topic that you want. You can go crazy with it. You can just do it with pencil and paper. You can print it. If you just do like a Google search on what is a zine, you're going to go down a rabbit hole. And it's so fun to watch like everything that has been created so far. The project. So I explained it last time, but I'm finding that myself that this project is very much multi-layered and a bit mature, but it's also very, very fun. So the zine concept, it's called composition decomposed. So we are taking all of the principles of composition and we are matching an image that we created in Firefly. And if you have missed the image, or just chef kiss. And we are pairing that, trying to explain what is that principle to have a great design composition. It's called decompose because we actually use the definition itself as a prompt inside Firefly to generate the images. So this is the mood board. I mean, if you are like me, you like a good mood board just to get inspired, and we will be coming back to this quite often today. And here is some of the images that we have generated last time. So as you feast your eyes on this, I want to say hi to Alejandro, Umacorn. I want to say hi to Wade, Catherine, Monica, Oliver, Robert, Jack, Cody. So nice to see all of you here. And yes, we will be doing some amazing work today. So in the essence, to save some time, I have built a little bit of a visual identity for the zine. So here we have the title, which can act as a word mark. We have a bit of a color palette. I love to work with a lot of colors. I know this is depending on the designer, some like just 2 or 3. They like to really restrain themselves. I like to have a lot. This is my fonts. And if you are wondering, I won't be able to pronounce it, but it's Axiden Grotesque BQ Extra for this one here. And here is Elzatex. This one I think is a free one that I found online, and Elzatex is one of my favorite Adobe fonts. If you want to follow along, you can actually download this very presentation that you're seeing right here. If you actually click, I'm not sure we're going to see it on the stream, but there's actually an arrow where you can download, and then all of the links become accessible to you. So if you're curious to see the content, or you want to use the content copy to create your own zine, by all means, you can click here and use it. It is available for you. Okay, I need to do a little bit of teaching before we can do everything today, just because it is very technical. And in order to create, those flawless, really nice publishing design that you see, the more technical you are, the artsier you can get. And I know that this is an oxymoron when I say it, but hear me out. And if ever it does not make sense, let me know in the chat and I'll go over everything. So for this book specifically, or this zine, I decided to go with a saddle stitch. A saddle stitch is when the paper are folded in half and then, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? I have the word in French. I'm so sorry. Sometimes my brain plays tricks on me. I'm just going to skip over it and I'll come back to it. But basically it's when it's like folded in two and then it's just like pressed together. If you look at the zine that we have here with the Ottawa Design Club, this is perfect bound. So when we have a perfect bound here, it has like that nice spine right here. And it sits really nice like on a shelf. So depending on like what the book is going to be and where it's going to live, it's very different on how you set up your InDesign file. And this is why I wanted to say this is very technical. So in order to have a saddle stitch design, you need to encounter that your pages, your page number need to be a multiple of 4. You also need to think about margins because of the creep. So essentially, when you fold your pages together, right, the pages that are in the middle will get cut off more with the bleed compared to the ones that are next to your book cover. We will go over this whenever we set up our file, but I just wanted you to understand the thinking. And if you're completely lost, just holla. This is also why, because of this specific page numbering, that you need to plan your content. So here I like to use this just like mini like pages that I made here that I print at home and I just go over it. Sometimes I like to get very messy with it. And if you're curious, if you can actually download this document right here, then you can add your content. But every time you're starting a new zine document design, you don't need this first page. You actually start with just one page, right? Like, because the cover does not count. So it's like you're starting right here. So that's why if we go back to my content planning here, I have like just removed this first page right here. And same goes for the pages at the end. All right. Another thing that we will be looking at today is grids. And before even starting like the InDesign to start that new document, I want you to understand why this is important. I see so many new designers just having no grids in their design and they're just putting stuff everywhere. And what it does is that it does not create this visual repetition in the book that makes the reader happy. And we don't know that we're seeking for those alignments and that like perfect kind of layout, but we do. So if we use grids like this, we can achieve a really cool design. We can, just by following the lines, we can still be very original with it, depending on how many columns that we have. The more columns we have, the more flexibility we have with the design. Less column we have, less flexibility we have with the design. So without further ado, let me hop in so you can see here what I mean. I have 5 columns and I'm going to show you exactly how to do this. So I'm going to go into new document. I'm going to work in inches. That's just because this is a Canadian thing for printers and I want to be sending this to the printer. I know that I want to be doing some postcards to go along with this zine. So I want everything to sit nicely whenever you put them in a stack, whenever you ship it out. So I'm going to be making this zine 5.5 by 7.5 inch. Because I have planned my content ahead, I know that I have 48 pages. That is a multiple of 4. I want to do facing pages, so then you have that spread design. I do want to start at page 1. If you go here, columns and the column gutter, this is where you can add or remove as many columns as you want. I like to play with a uneven number, so I like to have 5. And this gutter is just like the normal gutter. I'm going to be keeping it that way. Now for the margin. If you click that little like link here, it's going to make the margins the same throughout all here, like all around your page. Because of the creep that I just explained to you, we don't want them to be equal like all around. We want them to be a bit wider in the middle and on the side, but it can be thin at the top and the bottom of the page. So I'm going to unhook this link, and by doing so, I can be a bit more creative with the margins. So the top, I'm going to make it less, actually 0.25, that's good. I'm going to do the same for the bottom. And then the inside 0.375 inches, like that's really good. And of course, because this is going to the printer, you want to add some bleed, and you can actually preview if you want, and now you can see what it's doing. You know what? I actually want to add a bit more margin inside. So let's do this. Oh, that's the bleed, my bad. Here. And let's see if I do this. Perfect. See how this is wider than here? Slightly, but it's there. Okay, so now I'm happy with it, and we can create our document, which is right here. So now you can see your grid. This is just your grid when it's vertical, but you also want to be putting some rules horizontally. In order to do this, you need to, well, I mean, my personal process is I need to start playing with the design in itself. And that's where I can see, okay, this will be aligned at this height and so on. So the fun is about to start. We're going to be designing. I have prepped my library right here, and I have my color palette. So this is the color palette that I have showed you before. I should have added my fonts, which I didn't. This is not super smart. And before I do anything, I'm going to save this document. I'll call it Zine 2 for the moment. Perfect. Okay. So if I go back to my content pages, I can see that the first page here is just going to be like a dedication or just like having my logo or something. So I can leave that be for the moment. The second pages is going to be a spread, I should say, is going to be the word mark. So let me go here, and I can actually hold the word mark right here. See how easy that was? Also, super fun that because it's called composition decompose, like put it upside down, it's part of the concept. Now, in order to follow your grid, right? How can you make that work? You want to make sure that you stay within those lines at all time. Sometimes you can break it, but you need to choose those specific times depending on what else is on the page. So here, I would make sure that it fits perfectly in between those lines here. And I don't think I want this to be black. I want it white, and I'm going to add a background color to it. I'm going to remove the stroke, and I'm going to do it black. Something else that I wanted to mention while I send this to back here is that whenever you pick the black that is already in your swatches, whenever it's being printed, because it's being printed on white paper, it won't come out as pure, rich black. You actually need to force the color black for it to be very deep. So we're going to create that new swatch. So we go to new color swatch here, and you make sure that it's CMYK again, because it's going to the printer. And you can search this if ever you forget or go back to this stream. You're going to do 60 cyan, 40 magenta, 40 yellow, and 100% black. Actually, I forgot to name it rich black. You won't notice anything in your file because it is RGB. You're seeing it in RGB, but it makes a really big difference whenever it's being read by the printing machine. So I just want to say, oh, hello, Kiran. Hello, AI. Hi, Ruby. I was on Behance for a little bit, but now I'm seeing you. Thank you so much for watching. Okay. So this is good. I'm actually thinking that the white, if I go back to my images that we have created together, because there was that kind of paper finish, that rough paper, like we can see it here. I feel that white is just a little bit too intense for the vibe of this zine. So I'm going to go in my page master and I'm going to change, we'll just put a color on top. It's always giving me a stroke. Why is it doing this? And just create a bit more of a beigey like color. For this is very beige. Just going to duplicate it. Sorry, I was in preview mode, so we weren't seeing the grids anymore. I'm going to change that color. Don't worry, it's a little too intense. Just making sure it's sitting nice and snug. And you might also ask, why have you not just put one big shape and you did two? That's because whenever you're on this page, the first and last, if I would do a big shape, you would see the shape bleeding out and just like kind of hanging there. And I personally don't like it. I think it's a little messy. But if you don't mind it, that is totally okay to do it that way as well. Okay. Just going to just a little. Perfect. And because it's applied to my master, as you can see, it has applied this shade onto all of my pages. And see how big of a difference that is when you look at this cream color and this white. It's so much better. But the cream is just a bit more toned down, but we still get that richness from the black. Okay. In my content planning, I also had the logo or word mark like so. And see, this is where I would need to already break the rule of following a grid. Because I wanted to stay in the same like size as this one, it's not necessarily sitting quite properly in between. I'll put it black. In between like our column, but it's okay because I'll just center it like so. Perfect. And it's not looking like much now, but you know what? That's okay, because creating a zine personally is not a linear thing. You start somewhere, you go to a few pages and you come back and then you so you have to trust the process. So this is that. Now, if we go back to, I should just look at it. I have that here instead of going back. I'll actually jump right onto the first spread explaining the principles. So because I have these like content planning sheets, I know that I can jump to page 10 because here I have the intro, I have the table of content, but I'm not ready to do that yet because I have not defined anything. So I'm going to page 10 and we're going to do our first principle. So I'm going to go to the content again, which you can follow along, just copy paste that. Balance, oops. And I know the font that I'm going to use, this one. The reason why I picked this font is because it looked a lot like the fonts that I liked from the mood board. And just like trying something here, I like it when it's all caps like this. I want it to be a bit more impactful, so let's add some like size up. And that works perfect. I know that for each principle, I want to introduce the principle with an image. So let's bring the image that we have created. Got them already. Balance. Oops. The images are huge. I'll just resize that. Oops. Perfect. And I'm just gonna, I am absolutely in love with this image. And I can't believe it was generated in Firefly, to be honest. And I also like the fact that you kind of don't know what it looks like until you read the description at the very beginning. And I can see that Cody has asked a question. How many years have you been making zines? 4 years now? That's kind of crazy to say, to be honest. Started doing zines in the pandemic. And it started with the Ottawa Design Club, which I showed you. This is actually issue number 6. But when we started, it was just a way for us to put all of the amazing creativity that we were seeing from the pandemic in one place. And it was a success. When we launched our first zine, we sold out in 3 days. And we had no idea what we were doing, but it worked out. So look at that. I'm pressing W whenever I want to exit from the design view and just want to go to preview, and already I'm liking this. And I noticed that I made a mistake. I actually did the regular black and I should have done rich black. There you go. And I'm going to do the same here for the titles because I want all my blacks to match. And if you do forget, it's going to show in your print proof. But you want to be asking for a proof because then you can fix it. It's a bit more expensive to ask for a proof with the printer, but it can save you a lot of mistakes and a big other print rerun after, which you don't want to happen. So this is looking quite good. So we're going to do the same thing. Actually, as you notice here, instead of following like the grids for the image, I'm actually following the grid for the image like rectangle, and it's sitting here properly. I like whenever it's breathing like it is, but we can also, if you were very, very picky, which sometimes I can be, we can make sure that the image fits perfectly within the lines here. Let's see how that look. Actually, I like that. I like that. Okay, so now I'm going to grab the balance description. All of this text was generated in a ChatGPT, which I felt was good with the intent of the project, because we like even the description for the principle were generated in ChatGPT and then brought into Firefly to create those kind of crazy images based on a composition that I had done in a collage. So when we think about composition decompose, like it's a multi-layered thinking of composing, decomposing, composing, which I thought was quite cool for the idea of this project. So here I have my full text and I want to be selecting that all, and I'm going to go and select my Elsa text. Now, there's a debate on how big you should have your text in a book, and it depends on a lot of factors. It can be whether it's like the font that you're choosing. Elsa text, I feel, is a bit bigger than most fonts, so 12 is definitely too big. 10 is usually the recommended size, but you need to gauge how it's looking, who's going to be reading it, and how it looks overall, obviously. So I'm going to select all this and I'm going to do 10. And I'm going to do 10 points for just the spacing between the lines. So actually, I want to do more than that. The reason why I'm not doing paragraph style just yet is because I just want to make sure it looks okay before I decide. I find that whenever I'm doing some paragraph styles in InDesign, changing it a lot sometimes can break it, specifically if you have a lot of them. So by just deciding like what you're going for first, and we're definitely in the exploration phase at the moment, then we can see and decide. So see here too, my text box, I'm following the lines of my grid. And if I want to be, I have this little plus here. That means I have more content. I'm actually going to do, instead of 3 columns, I'm going to do 2 columns. And I can just click here and add the rest of the text right here. The reason why it's not showing is because I had pressed enter and it went onto another box, another text box. I actually don't like the fact that there's just 1 paragraph on this one, so I'm going to bring 2 down. Instead, I keep doing this here. My bad. So if we go back into preview view here, we can see that even though here we have 3 columns and 2 columns, it's still, oh, it disappeared because it's all good because I moved the bottom. But yeah, you can see here, we're not shocked by it. But if it was random, then it's like our eyes know that it's not divided properly. It's really weird, but, and maybe you're not seeing it yet, and that's okay. It just requires some practice, and which is why having a personal project like making a zine like this one is the perfect way to get better. Awesome. Now I know that I want to be using color just to live everything up. So I'm going to do this. I feel like a nice pink, and maybe I'm going to go into my library, into my color palette, and I had already, there you go. My colors over there. And because I find that these images are so interesting, I'd like to use them as a close-up, but still in like a small square rectangle. So I'm gonna do the rectangle frame here, following the grid again. You're gonna hear me say this very often. Sorry for being a broken record, but it's like that it's with repeating yourself that's how you learn. I'm going to use my direct selection arrow. Just going to flip this around, and I'm going to zoom in and find a section that is interesting to look at. I feel like this was just a Kim Kardashian moment. Interesting to look at, if you know what I'm referencing to. See, this is still, I want it bigger. Again, this to me is so interesting because you don't know if it's snake skin or something else. Is it a purse? Is it like leather? Like, so fun. I want to go find, oh yeah, this I like. This looks like leather and paint at the same time. And I like the fact that we're questioning what it is. Going to do the same, like so. And for this time, I'm just going to do one column, bring it beside, and play it around to find an interesting part. I like this because it looks like if it's painter's tape and we don't know what that is. Perfect. If we go to preview view, that looks good. Okay. So now we have our first two spread done and the section balance. It's definitely missing something. So if we actually look at like that, it's getting somewhere, but we're missing a bit of pizzazz. And yes, Cody, the grid really helps to visualize and understand the negative space. And yes, absolutely. Specifically with this saddle stitch print, where we need to have like the margin as explained as at the beginning. So it helps to visualize that too. But yes, we need a bit of pizzazz. So how can we oomph it up a little bit? And chat, if you want to help me with that, you're most welcome to give me some advice. Yes, maybe we should brand that Adobe Pizzazz. Like, that could be super fun. So as I was doing some research, and I can go back again to my mood board right here. There's no gradient. I mean, there is one here, but because the images that we have created are so chaotic in a sense, and we don't know what they are, I was thinking of doing a crazy gradient as like something that we repeat on every page as a fun visual cue if you want. So for that, I'm gonna create it first and see if it works within this page and then apply it to the master page. So I'm gonna create a rectangle. I wanna make it thin and I wanna make it long enough so it has a lot of weight to it, because we have a lot of space to play with, so we can be a little crazy with it. I'm gonna do new swatch gradient. Actually, before I do this, just because I don't have all of my colors, I want to be adding them to my color swatches. There you go. Okay, just want to make sure that it is properly aligned, and it is not. There you go. So I want to be doing new swatch gradient, and we're about to go crazy. I want to keep it linear, and I want to add a lot of colors in it. Make it crazy. So as I'm doing this, it's actually picking up like the gray scale that's already there, but we can go easily change it. So if I double click here, I can go and select the colors. I'll just do this because it's not letting me go select my colors for some reason, which is fine. want to have like a very crazy red. There you go. And you'll see it's may not look like a good idea, but I've tried it before. Trust me, it looks cool. And right now I'm just like selecting whatever colors. You might, again, you want to maybe find like the exact colors that you have selected here, but exploration is also okay. What am I missing? I feel like I'm missing a yellow. And look how cool that is. It just adds like that kind of je ne sais quoi that we were missing. And it's going to like, and it's creating some balance, actually visual balance and unity, which is also a, a principle with the image. I think that it could be cool to add this in the master as mentioned previously. So I'm actually going to remove this. I'm going to go in the master here and just going to go back into design mode. Because I want to make sure that it sits on top of everything that I'll be creating, I want to be creating like a new layer, which I can call top, top page. That's actually not like the best. I'll just call it top because it's sitting on top of everything. And I want to make sure that this is selected, and then I can copy paste my image. And you know that it's on the right layer based on the color, right? Like if I'm here, I'm gonna just copy paste it. It's blue. The outline is blue. So that's how you know you're on the bottom layer. But here, sorry, it's red. So that's good. Again, I want to create some repetition. So I'm gonna be using this and putting it right here. And I think that's going to be cool. So if we go back to even our intro page, and we actually go, see, it's already kind of creating something fun. What do you think, chat, about all this? All right. While we are in the master pages, going to go back to design view, we want to add page numbers and stuff like that, like the information that we will be having, like have repeated throughout the whole book. So I'm going to create just a text box. I know that I want to add my page number right here. I'm still being on the top layer because again, I want it to be sitting on top of everything that I'm going to do further down. I want to make sure that we have the proper font, which is Elza text. I'm going to be doing 8-point for that one and justify to the right. And I'm going to do 1. Now, in order for it to change on its own, and I'm actually just going to do this again, so we're following the grid. For it to change on its own, you want to highlight that one, go to type, you will go to insert special character, marker, and current page number. And it's going to change to an A. If it's done that, that means that it's working. As you can see here, it's page 11. And it's sitting properly there. Another thing that I want to add is that usually whenever it's an artistic zine, you want to have a title for the artwork that you're featuring, the image that you're featuring, even if it's your own photography and you have titles to your work, you want to be adding it. So I wanted to follow the same like length and type as the page number and being having the same alignment. Ooh, that's what I was trying to say. Again, I'm having a weird English to French, French to English day today. And here, I'm just going to write title and then description. This is going to be locked. Oops. But that's okay because we can unlock it and then change it. But by having it there and unlocking it on the other pages that you have, you know that it will be sitting at the exact same place, and you just need to change the content, and I'll show you how to do that. As I'm seeing it, I just want to make sure that it's like sitting properly on that bottom line. There you go. That's better. Also, I want to be making that into an oblique. Perfect. So if we go back to our page that we have designed here, as you can see, if I click on it, it's locked. We cannot do anything. If you're on a Mac and you do Command Shift and you click on it, it's going to unlock it from the master page. You can now add your title and the description. We'll say AI image. AI image. I guess that's good. And here at the bottom, we can do the same. Balance. Here, because we're looking at a close-up, we can either say close-up or we can say detail and then AI image. Perfect. Now, as I'm looking at this, and I know that I have some colors that will be a bit darker, and I'm thinking, maybe I want this to be actually cream instead whenever this is like a color, like a colored background page. And this is kind of like the rules that you can make for yourself as you're moving forward into your design. So I'm going to go back to the master page and I'm going to add 2 pages, as you can see here. So this is my B parent. Just going to go to this here, going to copy it. I know that this page here will most likely be color, but I'm going to just remove it. And here I can apply the proper color to my text, which is this here. I've noticed this way too late into the InDesign game, but if you select your text box like this and you click on that T and then you get that, like you pick the color that you want, it's going to change the text for all of your text boxes at the same time. And it's been a game changer for me. So this is good. Just want to make sure it's on the proper layer. It is. And now what I can do is, because I know if I just take this, because I know it's the right page, bring it to the pink page. And if I see, because I have unlocked this section, that's why it's there. But as you can see, I still have the proper page number and I have this box for the title description. I'm just going to do it again. Balance. Detail, AI, image. Oh, I'm seeing Viola. I did not know that. That's a hidden gem. Yes, I know it's right there. And it could have saved us so much clicks. And, you know, sometimes you hold your shift key and you have to start. It's like, yeah, it's just a little trick that is super fun. Okay, so now we have this. Now, whenever I'm looking at this gradient on top of the colored page, I don't think it's like, I feel like we're like it's not having like the same impact that we have on the other pages. but that's okay because we can unlock it. And I think it would be cool to have it as a rich black. So again, if we go to preview view, this is what we have so far for our zine pages. We have not done much, but just by doing that, I don't know for you, but I feel that we're adding a lot of pizzazz. Cody, you can be my pizzazz checker today if you want. Just making sure I'm saving everything. Okay, so since that I like how this is looking, specifically with the title here, this is what I was saying at the beginning with you need to kind of test out everything to see where it's sitting. I want to make sure that with all of the other pages that I'm going to create, that the title will be sitting at the exact same place. This is probably not the best way to do it, but this is how I do it. Just to make sure. I will create a shape that is a crazy color. Let me just remove that stroke. For some reason, that stroke keeps just reappearing and it's bugging me. Okay, trust the process for this. Thank you, Cody. Okay, so I have the shape going from the bleed to the title. And I'm going to bring it to my master page. And then I'm going to drop that ruler and create that line right here. I'm going to remove this. So now I know for this page, whenever it's a title page for each principle, that this is where the title goes. I'm going to do the same for the other master page. And this, I'm actually on the top layer. It doesn't matter on which layer it is, you're going to see it at all time. You can see your guides at all time. And now we're properly set up to create our other spreads. So I'm just looking at the time and it's crazy how much it's just like some technical stuff. But once you understand how it works, then the full work be like the full zine, because you're going to repeat the layout. You're going to try within like your grid and stuff like that. You're going to change the color of your little assets that you're adding. It's very much repetitive work. So you need to create those rules ahead of time in order to have a very efficient way of creating your zine. But just because I want to at least show you how to use this guide here and how it looks. Just going back to the next one was contrast. And now I know that we are creating that visual repetition throughout the zine. All right. I just want to show you another image just because I love them so much with this zine. And I'm going to put the contrast image on the other side this time around just to be different. So I'm creating that frame just because I love it so much. Going to be fitting it in the frame. This was one of my favorite image that was generated because it looks like paper. And at the same time, it doesn't look like paper. I mean, it does, but you're like, what is on top of it? Absolutely love this image. And actually, now that we have that reference with that title, I can actually align the image box with that line as well. And I actually want to have a solid color for that page and see how I added everything on top and I still have my title and my page number. This is because it's on top, on the top layer. I wanted to have a crazy color for that one. Send it to the back. And look at this. again, just like starting to come together. Oh, Kristen, better late than never. This looks great, Izzy. Thank you so much. Yes, well, actually, in the essence of for this stream, I always like to work ahead of time, and I can show you what was done previously because I've actually done this full zine. And I'm just going to put it in preview mode. So this here is the intro page. Again, this could be whatever content that you want. And you can see how everything has been laid out. You can notice that this part here, if we compare the two, is a little smaller. This is actually a great example of me cheating and not following the grid, where it's not even hitting the middle of the column or anything. It's just because visually it looked better. So this is something that at the end, when you look at the whole composition of your zine, that you need to be doing. Let's just like kind of go through it. Again, even the same for these images. If we look at the grid, we can see that, you know, it's in between. It's not necessarily touching this one, but visually it works. But this one, this rectangle is actually touching the lines of the column. Michelle, great to see an InDesign stream. I love working in InDesign. Actually, yes. Tell me which software is your favorite. InDesign is one of my favorite, but I'm definitely an Illustrator girl. I love Illustrator. You can do so much with it. But I do love how when you work in InDesign, how much more structured you can prepare your document and making sure that everything is nice and aligned. I feel that you have more control in that sense. I wanted to show you this spread, although we won't have time to do it, but I wanted to show you a new way of making a table of content, which instead of just having the like section title and the page number, I wanted to use the image. So I took a cutout of each of the images, like the explaining the principle at an interesting point of view, and just added the number beside, and then I grouped everything. So if we look at it with the grid, that's how it's looking like. Reason why I didn't bring the image fully till the end, it's because I wanted to have room for that number. So this is what I meant by the more you play with that grid, the more fun you can have, but still being very structured and aligned. So yeah, you can have a lot of fun with it. So I'm just going to, just so you can have like a look. And actually, going back to the document that was shared, if you want to follow along, there is a link where you can download this PDF of this zine and look at it, read it if you want, or like take some inspo from it. It's available for you to look at. Just don't steal it. Be cool. But it's definitely there to inspire you. So yes, this is something that I also want to do, and we can talk about that with the next stream, is having kind of a middle page surprise. So this would be the middle of the zine, and having just like a full image, which would be very different, and it would break that, you know, same design at all times. So it's kind of a pleasant surprise for the reader. So thinking about that. But yeah, this is the full zine. So we're wrapping up now. It's crazy. It's been already an hour. So we have that contest for the Ottawa Design Club zine. So the first one that types the word grid in Behance will win the zine. So 1, 2, 3, go. I'm waiting. And while I wait for this, I'm going to go back to my presentation to do the final. Oh yes, if you're curious about Grids. Oh, Umacorn, you're the one that won. So please reach out to me, send me your address, and I will be sending you a zine. But yes, if you're curious about more, like learning more about grids, this is a really great book for you that you can learn more. This is the result of the full zine. This is, if you have missed the first session about this season specifically, you can go back to episode 7. It's also in the description of this stream. If you're curious to see the first season of Creative Dezine, all of the episodes and working document are also found on this presentation. Follow me on Behance, follow me on Instagram. And until next time, come back on February 6th, where we will be doing so much. We will be designing the cover, we will be designing postcards to go along the zine. And surprise, surprise, we will be designing a sticker sheet to go inside the zine. So it's going to be a full-blown zine. It's going to look so good. I'm excited about it. So thank you so much, everyone. And see you next time.